There was a time, shortly after our book was out, actually, The Dangerous Case of Donald Trump was an unprecedented New York Times bestseller of its kind. And thank you. And within 3 months of its publication.
No, it's a great, you did 2 volumes. The first had 27, and then you added 10 more.
That's right. Yes.
I even flew to DC for the press conference that you were doing for this book at the press club in DC.
And within 3 months of the book being released, we were the #1 topic of national conversation. And all major news media, cable and network, were inviting me. I was actually impressed at that time that there was no reticence whatsoever of this being about mental health. It was only after the American Psychiatric Association very deliberately and aggressively campaigned against us that suddenly speaking about the mental health aspects of this crisis became taboo, and they framed it as creating a stigma against those with mental illness, whereas in fact all the literature shows that silence promotes stigma, not discussion.
Yeah.
And so here we are, where we're even further backward than we were in 2017 when the book was first released, and mental health experts are entirely blacked out of the major media, and networks and even radio programs are afraid to have any of us on. The New York Times deletes my quotes if I were ever interviewed, whenever I'm interviewed.
Me too, unfortunately.
Most recently, NPR canceled 2 of my shows, both on All Things Considered and another one, Here and Now, that was already recorded and canceled at last minute. And so this is very worrisome, because if we cannot talk about the problem, it doesn't make the problem go away. It makes it fester and actually propagate unchecked. And it does not bode well for the country and the world.
Yeah, so I have a theory, Bandy, at least from my work on cults, that it's actually cult members who've reached very high levels in corporate media that are censoring. And I say this first from firsthand knowledge with the Boston Globe, my hometown paper, which, I've been here since the 70s, and they would quote me every time there was a cult story. And then there was a 10-year period where there was no cult stories. And if there was, it was a sect, S-E-C-T. And a friend of mine who was a writer for the Boston Globe said, the editor is Opus Dei. And I'm like, oh, the Catholic group that says the Pope is satanic, and that the extremist Catholic bishops that are trying to split, the followers and move them all to the right wing. Oh. And William Barr was Opus Dei. He was on and when my book came out, the PR person said, if Steve thinks he's going to get in the media calling the Attorney General of the United States a member of a cult, forget it.
Yes, and as you know,
and Barr is back in the media. But it's not just Opus Dei. I think the Mormons, there are so many Scientologists, have people in it. So the question is about infiltration to co-opt the public knowledge about something that's so obvious to all of us, that this is like propaganda, disinformation, but a very specialized form.